The U.S. President-elect Donald Trump stirred global debate by suggesting that the United States should assert control over Greenland, the Panama Canal, and even annex Canada. These remarks were met with widespread skepticism and backlash, yet they revealed deeper motivations tied to strategic, economic, and historical considerations. Greenland, an autonomous territory of Denmark, has been a point of interest for U.S. leaders since World War II. Its strategic location in the Arctic and abundant natural resources, such as rare earth minerals, make it a coveted asset in an era of climate change and great power competition. This is not the first time Trump has expressed interest in Greenland. In 2019, during his presidency, he famously proposed purchasing the island, only to face rejection and ridicule from Denmark and Greenland. In December 2024, he revived this ambition, framing it as a national security imperative. Trump declared Greenland a necessity for U.S. security and freedom in the Arctic, citing the growing geopolitical competition with Russia and China. The Arctic is warming faster than any other region on Earth, opening new shipping lanes and access to untapped resources. Countries like Russia have been fortifying their Arctic presence, while China has declared itself a near-Arctic state and seeks greater influence in the region. By acquiring Greenland, the U.S. would gain a foothold to counter these moves and consolidate its dominance. Greenland also hosts the Patuxent Space Base, a critical U.S. military installation that monitors missile launches and supports NATO operations. However, Greenland's leaders have repeatedly rejected any notion of being sold. Prime Minister Mute Egede has been clear: Greenland is not for sale, nor will it ever be. Despite these assertions, Trump's renewed interest underscores the broader strategic importance of the Arctic in global geopolitics. As the polar ice caps melt, the battle for control over this region will only intensify. The Panama Canal, completed by the U.S. in 1914, has long been a symbol of American engineering prowess and strategic vision. For decades, it was under U.S. control, ensuring dominance over one of the world's most important trade routes. However, the 1977 Torrijos-Carter treaties transferred control of the canal to Panama, culminating in a full handover in 1999. Trump has criticized this transfer, calling it one of the worst deals in American history. He argued that the U.S. should reclaim control over the canal, either through negotiations or, as some fear, by force. Trump's rhetoric is rooted in concerns about China's growing influence in Latin America. Chinese companies have made significant investments in infrastructure projects across the region, including port facilities near the Panama Canal, raising alarms in Washington about potential interference. However, Panama has fiercely defended its sovereignty. The Panama Canal Authority ensures the waterway's neutrality, allowing equal access to all nations. Panamanian President José Raúl Mulino responded to Trump's remarks by asserting the canal belongs to Panama and will remain so forever. Any attempt by the U.S. to take control would likely provoke international condemnation and strain relations with Latin America. Historically, the U.S. has used military force to protect its interests in the canal zone, as seen during the 1989 invasion of Panama to oust Manuel Noriega. While such actions are unlikely in today's geopolitical climate, Trump's statements rekindle fears of American interventionism in the region. Perhaps the most surprising and controversial of Trump's statements was the suggestion of annexing Canada. While U.S.-Canada relations are characterized by deep economic, cultural, and security ties, the notion of annexation is viewed as absurd by most observers. Canada, a sovereign nation and staunch ally, has no interest in joining the United States. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau dismissed the idea with a firm rebuttal, stating, "Canada is proud of its independence and will remain so." The suggestion also faced ridicule from Canadian citizens and politicians, who view it as an affront to their national identity. Historically, the U.S. has made attempts to influence or control parts of Canada, most notably during the War of 1812. However, these efforts failed, and Canada emerged as a strong, independent nation. Today, the U.S. and Canada cooperate closely through organizations like NATO and USMCA, making the idea of annexation both impractical and unnecessary. Trump's remarks about Canada may be seen as more symbolic than serious, aiming to rally nationalist sentiment among his supporters. However, they also highlight the fragility of alliances in an era of polarized politics and unpredictable leadership. The U.S. has a long history of territorial expansion, often justified under the guise of manifest destiny or strategic necessity. From the Louisiana Purchase in 1803 to the annexation of Hawaii in 1898, American leaders have pursued land acquisitions to enhance the nation's power and resources. The purchase of Alaska from Russia in 1867, initially mocked as Seward's Folly, proved to be a strategic masterstroke. Similarly, the construction of the Panama Canal solidified America's role as a global maritime power. These historical examples provide a lens through which Trump's statements can be understood. However, the 21st century presents new challenges. Global norms have shifted towards respect for sovereignty and multilateral cooperation. Territorial acquisitions are no longer viewed as acceptable tools of statecraft, making Trump's proposals seem out of touch with contemporary diplomacy. The international community has reacted with a mix of disbelief and concern. European leaders have criticized Trump's rhetoric as destabilizing, while analysts warn of potential damage to U.S. alliances. In Greenland, there is cautious optimism for increased cooperation with the U.S., but outright rejection of any notion of annexation. Panama has reaffirmed its sovereignty over the canal, emphasizing its commitment to neutrality. China and Russia are closely monitoring these developments. Both nations stand to benefit from any discord between the U.S. and its allies. Trump's statements could inadvertently weaken America's global standing, providing opportunities for adversaries to expand their influence. Trump's remarks about Greenland, the Panama Canal, and Canada may be dismissed by some as political theater, but they highlight deeper issues in U.S. foreign policy. The quest for dominance in the Arctic, control over critical trade routes, and strong alliances with neighbors are all essential to maintaining America's global leadership. While these ambitions face significant legal, diplomatic, and practical obstacles, they reflect a broader trend of nationalist and expansionist rhetoric in modern politics. As the U.S. navigates a complex and rapidly changing world, it must balance its strategic interests with respect for sovereignty and international norms. The coming years will reveal whether Trump's statements were merely provocative or the precursor to a new era of American assertiveness. Regardless of the outcome, the debates sparked by his claims will have lasting implications for U.S. foreign policy and global geopolitics.